With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson. Now a part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got a great podcast for you guys. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by Chris Cichon. He does great work over at Monumental Sports Network along with NBC Sports Washington. He does the show By the Book, which you're able to catch every Monday through Friday, and we're going to be chatting with him about what he's all noticed the first month or so of the season. On top of that, we're going to be taking a look at some of the marquee games that we're going to be seeing on Thursday, and then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Thursday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter timeline at @GNet_81. Keep in mind, letters CM. Naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast by that 5-star review. Really did not get in any Twitter questions today, but we've got some cleanup to do from Tuesday's card, and we're going to take a look back at everything that we got on Wednesday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Now, we are unsure of how the Final Four Wednesday went between the Mariners and the Oakland A's, but the Mariners were able to get it done on Tuesday, 2-1 after getting no hit going into the top of the 8th inning as Mason Miller, he allows no hits, 7 scoreless innings, and then Richard Lovelady is the man that yaks this one up, giving up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning, including a home run to A.J. Pollock, his 3rd home run of the campaign. Jurisic Familia, Spanish for blown save. He gives you an out of the bullpen, and Shintaro Fujinami was able to give you a scoreless inning. And for Seattle, good effort here from the young gun. 10 strikeouts in 6 innings for Bryce Miller in his first career start. Gives up 1 run from there. Trevor Gott, Gabe Spear combined for a scoreless inning, and Justin Topa and Paul Sewald, they were able to end a scoreless inning as well. The DK Nation write-up pick from a Tuesday did it. We had an under that went to extra innings, and it was still not a sweat. 2-1, the Cincinnati Reds were able to get the job done. As for the Reds, Graham Ashcraft was not a load of Ashcraft. Gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings before Alexis Diaz, Derek Law, Ian Gabo, Lucas Sims all lend a scoreless inning. And for San Diego, they went 0-12 with men in scoring position as Michael Wacha, no need for the dying Pac-Man voice because he was good. 6 scoreless innings. It was the bullpen that yacked this one away. Josh Hader, scoreless inning. Nick Martinez allows 1 run in 2 innings, and then Luis Garcia gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning. They would totally redeem themselves on Wednesday, though. 7-1 final in this one as the Padres in this game go 2-11 with men in scoring position, but they got a home run out of Brett Sullivan, number 1 of the campaign, as Seth Lugo was on his game. He gives up a solo home run over the course of 6 innings as Spencer Steer, he was able to get his 3rd home run season and the 6th road home run for the Cincinnati Reds this season. He becomes the 2nd player for the Reds to get to 3 home runs this season. The other is Jason Vossler, who's currently not with the team. So that's great as Luis Cessa gives up 3 runs in 3 1/3 innings. He had Alex Young give up that home run to Sullivan in 2/3 of an inning of his own. Javier San Martin, along with Casey Lugumina, they combined to give up 3 runs in their inning of work, but Buck Farmer, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Derek Law, Ian Gabo, they piecemealed together 5 outs without allowing a run. And for the San Diego Padres, their bullpen got the job done if you had the under, as Tim Hill, Brent Honeywell, and Tom Cosgrove were all able to give you a scoreless inning. Clean up from yesterday as well. You saw the LA Dodgers just completely smoke the Philadelphia Phillies by a count of 13-1 as Julio Urias was on his game, gives up 1 run over the course of 7 innings, punches out 10. Lone mistake they made was to trade Turner down for 3rd home run of the season. Matt Strahm, he allowed 4 runs in 3 1/3 innings. As for the Dodgers, just 1 home run in this one. Freddie Freeman goes deep off of Junior Marte of the Marte Parte, his 5th home run of the season, as Marte gave up 4 runs in an inning. it got so bad that in back-to-back days, Cody Clemens had to come in and pitch. He gave up a run in a third of an inning. Gregory Soto gave up 4 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Seranthony Dominguez, a scoreless inning. Connor Brogdon, 1 2/3 inning scoreless. And Alex Vesia, Phil Bickford, they lend a scoreless inning. And then turn it forward to Wednesday, and the Dodgers got down by a count of 5-0, but they clawed their way out of the hole 10-6. Walk-off grand slam from Max Muncy, who now leads the league with 12 home runs for the LA Dodgers, by the way. They just keep on winning games by multiple runs. Since the beginning part of the 2022 season, only 20 of their wins, and I believe that we're up to 126 in total, have come by just 1 run. As for the Philadelphia Phillies, Aaron Nola was not so super, giving up 4 runs in 6 1/3 innings, including a home run to Miguel Vargas, second home run season. By the way, the Max Muncy home run, guess who that came off of? Craig Kimbrell, Craig Kimbrell gets 4 runs surrendered on 1 out. He now has an ERA of 8.25. This guy's been deplorable. Jose Alvarado, he gave up 2 runs in an inning, and Seranthony Dominguez give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen. But for the LA Dodgers, you had Gavin Stone just get completely rocked in this one. 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, surrendered in 4 innings in his MLB debut. And you did have Bruce Harder-Gratterall give up a run in 2/3 of an inning as he tried to close the door, but Victor Gonzalez, Yancy Almonte, they piecemealed together 3 scoreless innings, and Caleb Ferguson, 1 1/3 inning scoreless of his own. Going back to Tuesday as well, the Giants, they were able to get the job done 2-0. They took down the Houston Astros as you had a really nice start out of Anthony DeSclafani, 8 scoreless innings before Camilo Doval closes the door. And for the Houston Astros, Hunter Brown, he only went 4 1/3 innings, giving up 2 runs. Bullpen from there did their part. Rona Blanco, Hector Neris, Ryan Stanek lend a scoreless inning, and you had 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless from Matt 12 Gage. But for the Houston Astros, nothing doing in that one, and nothing doing for the Astros on Wednesday. The Giants get a 4-2 win, so they take 2 out of 3. Logan Webb looked very sharp. He gives up 2 runs over the course of 7 2/3 innings. Now, he did allow a home run as taking him deep. Alex Bregman, 4th home run season, but for Framber Valdez, he goes 6 innings. He gives up 2 runs as it was from there a home run given up by Brian Abreu in the 9th inning. That was an explanation play. Wilmer Flores took him deep. 5th home run season for Abreu, gives up a run in an inning. Phil Maton, runs surrendered in an inning. And Seth Martinez, a scoreless inning, but the Giants bullpen did their part. Scott Alexander and out of the bullpen, and you had Camilo Doval come in 1-2-3 ninth to be able to get that save and to be able to get the Giants to the window. Also getting to the window, this is all for Wednesday, by the way, as we've got the Tuesday cleaned up. The Tigers twice on the New York Mets, as the Mets lost game number 2 by a count of 8-1, and this was the most notable because Max Scherzer was back from suspension, and it looked like he should have been placed on suspension for just bad play. He went 3 1/3 innings, gave up 6 runs, all of which were earned, including a pair of homers to a Tigers team that stinks. Matt Vierling and Eric Haas both got their 2nd home run season. From there, you had the bullpen actually do an okay job. John Curtis with 2 S's gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. You had Jose Buto surrender 1 run in 2 1/3 innings, and 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless from Zach McCahiran. Hopefully I said that correctly in his MLB debut. And for Detroit, Michael Lorenzen, he did a good job of just mowing him down. Gives up 1 run over the course of 7 innings. Just 1 strikeout, but induced a lot of soft contact. From there, Jason Foley along Tyler Holton, they were both able to end a scoreless inning as well. The Tampa Bay Rays are now 25-6. They take it to the Pittsburgh Pirates by a count of 8-1. Mitch Keller got lit up, but wasn't necessarily all his fault. He gives up 5 runs in 5 innings, only 1 of which were earned, as you had G1 Bay have an error in this game, and you also had a Rodolfo Castro error that really hurt him, as Jose Hernandez, he gave up a run in an inning as he allowed a solo home run, and then you had 2 runs given up in 2 innings from Cody Bolden, as he also allowed a home run. As going deep for the Tampa Bay Rays, you had Josh Lowe get home run number 6 of the season, and Wander Franco, 6th home run of the season. Shane McClanahan, very nice, easy start here. He gives up 1 solo home run over the course of 6 innings. As for the Pirates, main form of offense, Andrew McCutchen, 6th home run season, and Chase Anderson, 3 innings of scoreless baseball as he welcomes himself to Tampa Bay with a nice save there. The Atlanta Braves, they just completely unloaded with their offense. 14-6. They take down the Miami Marlins. Braxton Garrett gives up 11 runs in 4 1/3 innings. Why he was kept in this long, I have absolutely no idea, but he allowed 4 home runs. Devin Smeltzer allows 2 home runs in 3 2/3 innings, and the backup catcher Jacob Stallings led to scoreless innings. For the Atlanta Braves, you had Marcell Ozuna go deep twice, his third and fourth home runs of the season, and he's been awful this year. Ozzie Albies, his ninth home run season. Austin Riley, his sixth home run season. Ronald Acuna Jr., his sixth home run season. And welcome back Michael Harris, his second, his first home run of the campaign as Kyle Wright. Not long for this game. He wasn't sharp himself. Gives up 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in 2 innings. And this is the prelude to a bullpen game that we're going to be seeing for the Atlanta Braves on Thursday in all likelihood. But AJ Minter, Kirby Yates, Jesse Chavez all lend a scoreless inning. Colin McHugh, 3 scoreless innings. And Dylan Lee, he did give up 2 runs in an inning, including a home run. Going deep for the Miami Marlins, he had Jesus Sanchez get home run number 2 of the campaign. For the Mets, by the way, I forgot to mention, in game number 1, they lost that game by a count of 6-5, as it was Joey Lucchesi who got the start in that one, and it was not necessarily the world's greatest start for him, giving up 4 runs over the course of 4 innings, including a pair of bombs. Going deep for the Detroit Tigers, Javi Baez, his first home run season, and Eric Haas, his first home run of the season. So Haas finally got his first 2 home runs of the season, both in separate games on Wednesday. But for Joey Wentz, he gives up 5 runs over the course of 6 innings, including a trio of bombs for the New York Mets. Tommy Pham, Mark Canha both get their 3rd home run season, and Francisco Lindor his 5th. But bullpen at his back, Will Vest, Tyler Alexander combined for 2 scoreless innings, and Alex Lang is able to end a scoreless inning. Meanwhile, for the New York Metropolitans, they did not have the back of Joey Lucchesi, as Jacob Kavonis, 3 scoreless innings, but then Adam Ottavino gives up 2 runs in an inning. That proved to be very costly. I thought it might be costly that the Arizona Diamondbacks left their young starter in so long, but they just got into the Texas Rangers bullpen. 12-7, the Arizona Diamondbacks are able to get the win as Brandon Pfaadt. Well, he fought his way to 4 2/3 innings, but gave up 7 runs, including 4 home runs. Going deep for the Texas Rangers, Jonah Heim, his 6th home run season. Leody Taveras, his first. And then Josh Young, home runs number 7 and 8 of the campaign. Problem for the Rangers was Andrew Heaney gave up 6 runs in 4 2/3 innings, including 3 bombs of his own. As going deep for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, his 5th home run season, and Christian Walker twice, 6th and 7th home runs of the campaign. But then you'd have Lourdes Gurriel go deep off of Ian Kennedy for his 2nd home run of the campaign, and that's when things really broke down. Josh Saboris gives up 3 runs in 1 1/3 innings. Jose Leclerc, 2 runs surrendered while getting just 1 out. Ian Kennedy gives up that home run in his 1 2/3 innings, and you did have a scoreless inning out of Yuri Rodriguez, but the bullpen of Arizona had the back of one Mr. Pfaadt, as Jose Ruiz, along with Miguel Castro, Andrew Chafin all lend a scoreless inning, and Joe Mantiply 1 1/3 innings scoreless. And the Texas Rangers, by the way, just continue to be a really good team to the over thus far this season, as they've now played 19 overs, 9 unders, and 2 pushes, with the Oakland A's game for Wednesday pending that is tied for the best over mark in all of baseball thus far. The best team to the under thus far in all of baseball has been the New York Yankees, and the New York Yankees, they fought to get it done against the Cleveland Guardians. 4-3 in 10 innings. They get it done, as for Shane Bieber, may have been kept in a little bit too long. Gives up 2 runs over the course of 8 innings, but did allow a pair of home runs, as Jake Bauers gets his first home run season, and Willie Calhoun is second. From there, you saw Emmanuel Clase blow the save, giving up a run in the 9th inning, and then Trevor Stephen, he comes in the 10th inning, gives up that unearned run that starts on second base. Meanwhile, for the New York Yankees, Clark Schmidt, not long for this game, but was not necessarily all on him in this one, as he goes 4 1/3 innings, allows 2 unearned runs, as an Anthony Rizzo fielding here really hurt him, and Clay Holmes, he lit this game on fire as well. He allowed a run in the 9th inning, as he got just 1 out, so that was absolutely terrific. But Albert Abreu, Jimmy Cordero both led to scoreless inning, and Ian Hamilton, Ron Metanacchio, 1 2/3 innings scoreless for a Yankees bullpen that has been on point all season long. Hey, the Chicago White Sox got a win, 6-4. They take down the Minnesota Twins, and for the Chicago White Sox, all of a sudden, they have won 3 straight games to get themselves to a nice 10-21, as it was Louis Varland who got the start for Minnesota. Was not necessarily the start that they were looking for. 4 runs are rendered in 4 2/3 innings, as he's taken deep by Luis Robert, his 6th home run season, and for Dylan Cease, bad start for him as well. He gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings, as he was taken deep by Nick Gordon, home run number 2 of the season. The bullpen of the White Sox, though, actually stepped up. They have been awful all season long, but Gregory Santos, Aaron Bummer. They provide a combined 2 scoreless innings, and then Kendall Graveman, Keenan Middleton both give you a scoreless inning apiece. Meanwhile, for the Minnesota Twins, you had Emilio Pagan give you a 1 1/3 inning scoreless, but Griffin Jax, Giovanni Moran both allow a run in their inning of work. Zach Greinke just continues to be absolutely amazing for this Kansas City Royals bunch when he is at home. On the road, it's a completely different story, but 6-0, the Kansas City Royals are able to get it done as Kyle Gibson allows 6 runs in 6 2/3 innings, including a home run. Going deep for the Kansas City Royals, Vinny Pasquantino, 6th home run season for Zach Greinke, 5 scoreless innings, and I'm not even kidding when I say this. Since he got back to Kansas City prior to the start of the 2022 season, he's allowed 2 home runs in, I believe now, 92 plus innings. Meanwhile, on the road, he's given up 19. It's just absolutely ridiculous. From there, Taylor Clark, Aroldis Chapman, Amir Garrett, Josh Shamouth, they all end at scoreless inning. And for the Baltimore Orioles, they continue to be good out there in the bullpen as Keegan Aiken, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. The Washington Nationals, they get a 2-1 win over the Chicago Cubs. As for the Cubs, Marcus Stroman did his part. He gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. Adbert Alzolay gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. And then Mark Leiter Jr., he does not lighter this game on fire. 4 outs on the bullpen scoreless. But the Cubs team has been one of the best in all of baseball in terms of generating runs. Nothing doing for them as young Jake Irvin made his MLB debut. Not bad. Gives up 1 run in 4 1/3 innings. Wiggled his way out of some sticky situations with 4 walks, but Andres Machado, the former Cub, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Kyle Finnegan, Hunter Harvey, Carl Edwards Jr. all lend a scoreless inning as well. Have to do this while a few games are still going on, so we've got a little bit of cleanup that's going to be done on the podcast tomorrow because of Greg Peterson experience. That is from midnight to 3 Eastern time, but looks like the Red Sox should be able to take care of the Blue Jays. That game is in the bottom of the 8th. Over is already cash as the Jays are down by a count of 7-3 after another bad start from Alek Manoah. Manoah, what this guy has been not good. Gives up 5 runs over the course of 5 innings out, only 2 of which were earned. He was hurt by a trio of errors. One of them was his own, Alejandro Kirk, Santiago Espinal, and the other 2, Anthony Bass. He now has a 7.71 ERA. Maybe he can get to a Boeing 717 because he likes to complain about popcorn on airplanes. He gave up a run in 1/3 of an inning. Trevor Richards, he gives up a run in 1 1/3 innings, and Nate Pearson is now on to try to hold down the fort for the Jays. They did get a pair of home runs, by the way. Both come off of Nick Pivetta, Dalton Varsho, 4th home run season for Guerrero Jr. His 6th as Pivetta. He gives up 3 runs in 6 innings, but Chris Martin, Cutter Crawford, they both left a scoreless innings, so looks like the Red Sox should be able to get to the window there. The Cardinals looking to finish it off against the LA Angels. They are currently up by a count of 4-3. That is going to be going into the 9th inning momentarily as Shohei Ohtani, 13 strikeouts in 5 innings. He also did give up 4 runs, including 2 home runs, as taking them deep, Dylan Carlson, 1st home run of the season, and Nolan Gorman is 7th. It's why strikeouts aren't necessarily the end-all be-all when it comes to Major League Baseball. Miles Mikolas, he gives up 3 runs in 5 2/3 innings, including a home run to Brandon Drury, his 6th home run of the season. He did have Jordan Hicks from there. London scoreless inning, Ryan Elsley, outside of the bullpen, scoreless, and then Chase Silseth came in for 2 scoreless innings, and Ryan Tepera looking to not gas can this game for the LA Angels and give themselves a chance in the 9th inning. And this one is midway through. The Milwaukee Brewers have scored no runs in 5 innings at Coors Field. Just absolute sadness for the Milwaukee Brewers as Eric Lauer gives up 4 unearned runs in 4 2/3 innings. Mike Brasso just completely made a big giant blunder in the 4th inning, and that led to 4 runs coming in for the Colorado Rockies, who have really not done a lot in this game, but that's not great. As Kyle Freeland was done after 5, he went 5 scoreless, and Brent Suter looking to hold it down there. But what we are all seeing in Major League Baseball right now, and this is something that we're going to talk about with Chris Cichon in segment number 2, we're seeing more unders starting to come through. As if you take a look at the last 7 days in Major League Baseball, 39 unders to 38 overs. That's a little bit over 50%. In this time span, favorites have been rock solid, and this is with a few games for Wednesday pending. 47 and 32 straight up. That's a 59.5% hit rate. What they have not been doing is covering the run line, though, as we have seen favorites cover just 32 run lines, win by 2+ runs in the last 7 days. And if you take a look at the season to date, favorites, they're hitting at 60.5% on the money line, 271 and 177. But we have now seen 68 favorites not cover that run line. And in terms of the totals, 216 overs, 216 unders. I believe we are up to 15 pushes. Do not quote me on that one, but I think we're at 15. But man, it has been a wild season in Major League Baseball. And a man that does a great job of taking a look at it all is Chris Cichon over at the Monumental Sports Network. Coming up next, we're going to chat with him about what he's all been noticing this baseball season and taking a look at some games for Thursday right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Are you ready to become a winning sports bettor? Schedule a call with SBIA to find out how their service can make you a long-term winning player. They've developed an innovative algorithm that maximizes units returned, and they are so confident in their system that they offer a money-back guarantee. Sign up by October 31st and get their MBA package at no cost until they reach 10 net units. They treat sports betting like a business. So if you want to learn how to make your sports betting dreams a reality, visit them at SBIA1.com and check them out on social media at SBIA Sports.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Great to be joined by this man, as Chris Cichon does a great job doing the show by the book. You're able to catch that every Monday through Friday over there on Monumental Sports Network, along with NBC Sports on Washington. He's doing a great job taking a look at everything. You want a little NBA, you want some golf, you want some baseball, football, you name it. He's got that all covered. Does an incredible job every time he joins his podcast, lending great insights as well. And to be able to follow Chris on Twitter, as at The Big Cheese Show. That is at CHEE on Big Cheese Show. And Chris, always great to have you aboard. Thank you.
Greg, great to be with you, my man. Yeah, we've got a baseball season where I was attacking overs at a very high rate, but as you pointed out on this great show, some of these unders have been coming in. I was just bit by that recently here in D.C., where it has been basically cold all week. I know I should be taking weather elements more into consideration. Obviously, Cubs offense against Trevor Williams, I just thought they were going to feast on him, and they didn't. But, you know, it's just fun to have constant daily baseball betting action, and all is well here, bro.
Yep, all is very well. And what have you been making out of this baseball season? Because I do think the bookmakers have done a great job of adjusting these totals. There obviously have been some great opportunities to take a look at the over. Like, I'm talking about darn near every Oakland A's game thus far this season. But I think at this point it needs to be very situational with regards to taking a look at some of these totals, and very much a weather-based sort of handicap as well, because like the Midwest, we've been seeing a lot of unders coming through, but the West Coast has been very good for overs thus far.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the things that I take into consideration when I'm going on FanGraphs, it's fly ball percentage and it's hard hit rate. I feel like every time you and I have this chat, I bring up those metrics just because those are things I'm trying to target. It is the reason why, you know, I want to go against a pitcher like a Hayden Wesneski, who did a decent job the other day in D.C., but overall, hitters have done a pretty good job against him. Outside of that, though, if you look at a Cubs team, I mean, if I'm looking at the landscape of teams I want to be backing on a consistent basis, Chicago's somebody that I would like to be doing that with. Atlanta, I mean, how about the offensive explosion against Braxton Garrett on Wednesday night? I mean, bottom of the lineup guys like Michael Harris delivering, Marcell Ozuna with a grand slam. I mean, to me, the Braves, you know, now you got Strider and Elder mixed in with the veteran pitchers there, Kyle Wright. I'm not a particularly big-time futures guy, but I just don't like having my money tied up that long. But, man, Atlanta in the National League. And, again, this is somebody who watched the whole Dodgers take it to the Phillies on Monday night, a game where I thought Taijuan Walker would be a little bit better. I still think the Braves class the National League. American League, still things to be figured out. We'll see how the Rays do. We'll see if, like, losing a pitcher like Springs, and I know that Fairbanks – they're saying it's a precautionary thing, getting hurt. I'd be concerned there. You do not want these injuries to pile up if you're Tampa. They're looking solid in the American League, no doubt.
They certainly are. And I would hit up a little bit more on the Cubs and the Atlanta Braves games for Thursday, but both of them actually do have TBD starters. It looks like Nick Neidert is most likely going to get the start for the Cubs, but that is yet to come onto the board. And we were getting numbers for the Atlanta Braves and the Miami Marlins, but Max Fried got pulled from his start. But if you would be taking a look at these games, where would you be looking on both of these? Because I do think that both of these games do lend a little bit of a solid look, because I was seeing a total of 7.5 for Fried versus Jesus Luzardo, and I think that could be a good spot for an under just because of the way that Jesus Luzardo has been pitching. Meanwhile, in the Cubs versus Nationals game, I think anything below a 9.5 is going to be a good take on the over because the guy on the other side of Patrick Corbin, you know all too well being out there in Washington, D.C., how he's been pitching in recent years.
Yeah, absolutely. Patrick Corbin, whether he is getting just soft contact, unlucky, or he's giving up the long ball, this is a pitcher who has not fared well and kind of is the face of the post-World Series struggles that you paid some of these guys. You're tied to them. Strasburg, I probably have said this on the show before. It's kind of like the Flacco situation with the Super Bowl. What were you going to do? He helped deliver you a World Series. Anyway, I think some of the things they're doing, Josiah Gray has been pitching better here as of late. They've got some nice key pieces with the Nationals, but it's a tough team to back. 1:05 Eastern time. The weather on Thursday here in the D.C. area is expected to be improving, but certainly not warm. I would say when it comes to this Braves team, an offense that I want to be just targeting, I mean, Albie's delivering. Ronald Acuna Jr., who I last saw was the shortest odds as far as National League MVP is concerned. He's hitting the baseball well. Whether it's Sean Murphy delivering from the cleanup spot, they're just a team that I want to be backing more so. Jesus Luzardo, I certainly understand, has been solid for them. And, I'm listening to the Braves broadcast, and they're saying that you can hear the baseballs getting hit inside this Lone Depot Park. I don't know. I mean, that's got to be kind of tough for these Marlins teams to play day in, day out. And I'm sure there's more Braves fans there too. So anyway, I'm not going to take a shot on the dog here with the Marlins. I think just too many things working against them. I would much rather back the Braves. And did I mention Austin Riley, Matt Olson too? They're just loaded.
If I would be able to get the plus 135 that we have listed when Max Fried was up there, I might be willing to take a shot on the Miami Marlins, but I have a feeling when this gets relisted, we are not going to be finding a plus 135 with the Miami Marlins, and even in a bullpen game, I'd be making the Atlanta Braves a favorite in this spot. So fully agree with you there, as we do have Chris Cichon, who does great work over at the Monumental Sports Network, along with NBC Sports Washington, joining me on the podcast. And I know that you're relatively close to this team that has gotten off to a blazing start. And I did think that their season win total was too low. That would be the Baltimore Orioles. I thought that this was going to be above 500 team coming into the season. I didn't think that they would be 20-9 good at this point in the season. And their young gun and Grayson Rodriguez is going to be on the bump on Thursday. Now, Rodriguez, a little bit of a walks issue, but he's got really good swing and miss stuff. He is really a future ace, in my opinion, for the Baltimore Orioles, going up against guy Jordan Lyles that, hey, the Orioles have a lot of familiarity with, because with Jordan Lyles, he was starting for them last year. What do you make out of this Orioles team in general and the spot for Thursday? Because I just take a look at this Royals team, and they're a team that I want absolutely no part of whatsoever until they show me otherwise with their struggling offense.
I remember going to Sarasota, Jordan Lyles, seeing him with the Orioles spring training, and didn't get a great glimpse of the meatballs he likes to serve up. But yeah, I would certainly be targeting against Lyles here. I know he can pull a rabbit out of a hat every now and then, but listen, I want to be backing an Orioles offense that Adley Rutschman, certainly somebody who is going to be in the conversation for best catcher in all of baseball, even at his young age. You've got an Orioles team that in their bullpen, guys like Cano and Bautista, I mean, you can't touch these guys back there. I was having a conversation with one of our guests on our show, and with this Orioles team, I would certainly be looking at packaging, whether it's Gunnar Henderson or Vavra, Urias. You have so many of these infielders that I think you can try and trade and acquire. You need a Luis Castillo to the Seattle Mariners type deal. Kyle Gibson has been pretty solid here. He's not spectacular. He's not somebody I want to be starting game one of an ALDS, but Grayson Rodriguez is the guy that they hope to be that way. They tried to work him out in spring training, and I remember watching one of their spring training games against Boston. Hey, get the hits and get your poor pitches out, and I think as the season goes along, he can be a power pitcher. They bring the gas cans. I don't know that they're actually allowing that at Camden Yards, but like that's what they were doing in the minor leagues. You know, you're bringing gas cans for Grayson Rodriguez, somebody who can certainly bring it there. So yeah, I would be liking this Orioles team here. I've been laying a lot of run lines, Greg. I listened to this show and you talk about how a lot of teams, they're covering the run line at a pretty, especially the Dodgers. I mean, they're bringing up that average quite a bit, but like I just try to shoot for the run line more so, get the plus price. So yeah, I'd be looking in that direction if I'm the Orioles. What the Royals are coming into Wednesday 7-23. They are certainly a far cry from the Alcides Escobar leading off of the World Series team days.
Yeah, it's been quite a while since the Royals have been able to enjoy that success. It's been almost as long as when the Pittsburgh Pirates were experiencing some success as well. And this is a really interesting series between they and the Tampa Bay Rays, two of the most surprising teams in the league, because with the Tampa Bay Rays, we knew that they would be good. I didn't think that they would get off to a historic start like this good, 24-6. I don't care what the schedule is. It's just absolutely amazing. And the Pittsburgh Pirates starting off 20-10. And it's rather significant as well. It looks like that'll probably become 20-11 by the time his podcast uploads. But what do you make out of Vince Velasquez versus Zach Eflin, a pair of guys that, frankly enough, a few years ago were pitching for the Philadelphia Phillies? Because with Zach Eflin, I think that it's sustainable with them. For the Pittsburgh Pirates and Vince Velasquez, I do think that there's going to be regression, and especially for Velasquez, someone who has shown throughout his career that he can put together like 2 or 3 good starts, but then after about a month or so of good pitching, has fallen off a cliff in the past.
Yeah, looking at some odds here at Caesars, if you want to jump in on the Rays run line, plus 118. Yeah, Zach Eflin is kind of your typical Tampa Bay Rays signing, somebody who dealt with some injuries with Philadelphia, certainly had some solid starts, would not call him consistent by any means, but Tampa found something, and he's done a pretty good job for them. Vince Velasquez, yeah, this was a guy who I thought was finished and has pitched pretty well for this Pittsburgh team. I mean, very surprised the start that this team had, and they paid Brian Reynolds that biggest contract in team history. They are showing that, hey, we are trying to win some baseball games here. I mean, the foundation you think is there. Brian Hayes hasn't exactly totally lived up to the billing that he had a couple of years ago, but he's somebody that can still hit the baseball, get on base at a decent clip. You have Andrew McCutchen, veteran presence there in that locker room. You've got decent fielding as well, too, that you can get from this team. And then Contreras, I know he's not pitching in this game, but like acquired in that Jameson Taillon deal from the Yankees, has done a pretty good job for them overall. Rich Hill, Johan Oviedo. You don't mess with the Johan. I like that liner that you used there. I like this team overall. I think they're kind of in Orioles territory, at least as far as last year was concerned. You got Bednar, who's a solid closer, too, but you look at the deadline and say we can really haul, and look at 2024. Maybe you trade a McCutchen, who, did a decent job for the Brewers last year. Pittsburgh, a team that's competitive right now in the division. You still have the Cardinals and Brewers and Cubs are going to be in the mix. So yeah, that's why maybe that lends to it. They look ahead to maybe next year, but the pieces are there with this team.
And how do you view the St. Louis Cardinals? Because they've been really scuffling this year as well. Getting off to a 10-20 start, I don't think that this is going to be a team that, when it's all said and done, wins just 33% of their games. But at the same time, it has been a little bit rough for them. We are seeing them on Thursday as about a -145 favorite against the LA Angels with Jack Flaherty on the mound, but that has been one of the more befuddling things. And when it comes to taking a look at baseball, taking a look at progression/regression, I do think that the Cardinals are one of those teams that they've been a little bit unlucky to begin the year, and I do think that maybe they don't make the playoffs this year, but they get closer to that form as the season goes along.
Yeah, didn't you think, Greg, that the incident with Marmol and Tyler O'Neill was not a good thing for this team? O'Neill was kind of taken back by the comments. I know this was a couple of weeks ago at this point, but I remember thinking Tyler O'Neill wasn't totally dogging it. So I thought it was maybe a little bit of unnecessary criticism publicly, and maybe there's some stuff like that going on. I don't know. I mean, I look at this team, you talk about maybe being unlucky, totally agree with you there. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt, you looked at his numbers last year. He was number one in all home run to fly ball percentage against lefties, number one walk percentage, number one BABIP, 515 OBP. Just ridiculous numbers against lefties last year. Arenado still in this lineup too. You would like to maybe get a little bit more. And Steven Matz, I know you just had a DK Nation pick fading him, and I would imagine that probably won because it feels like
it did.
He's not good, and I didn't think he was all that strong with the Mets. I didn't really trust him in his spot, so I was a little bit surprised with that signing. Jordan Montgomery, too, is somebody you trust more oftentimes than not. Adam Wainwright at this stage of his career, what are you really going to be getting? So, yeah, as far as like the long term of this team this year, Jack Flaherty, I don't like solidly trust as well. So when I was talking about the teams that I think are going to be at the top of the NL Central, maybe it's early, Greg, because I know there's 162 games, but I'd be a little bit worried if I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan. I'll just say that.
And I do think that the Cardinals offense is going to be just fine. That part I'm not too worried about, but to your point about Steven Matz, if you have faded Steven Matz in all 6 of his starts this year, you've went 6-0. So that has been working out very well there. So glad that you brought that up because he has been the most fadeable pitcher in the big leagues. Everyone always loves the fades of Patrick Corbin and company, but you've actually made more money fading Steven Matz this year, as we do have Chris Cichon, who does great work at Monumental Sports Network, joining me on the podcast. And Chris, anything else that you're taking a look at in the baseball landscape, whether that be a game or two for Thursday or just a team or two that you have been targeting and you've been having good success either backing or fading?
Yeah, I think I may take a shot looking at this Cardinals team facing off against Griffin Canning, who has done a decent job with mixing some of his pitches in. So kind of like that spot there potentially. George Kirby, somebody I'd like to normally back as well too. I mean, you're going to have to pay for it on the run line going into Oakland. Kevin Gossman against Bayo in Fenway Park is another one that I'll have an eye on. That'll be the nighttime action there. Kevin Gossman, we know, is a pitcher that we would normally back, but when it comes to this Blue Jays team, they are another one, kind of like the Braves. I mean, on Wednesday night, you had guys like Dalton Varsho, who I was a little bit surprised that the Diamondbacks traded him. I know that they got back Gurriel in that deal, but Varsho, a guy who can hit, he can run a little bit, and he can hit for power. We just saw that in Espinal, too. And then Matt Chapman, didn't he just win AL Player of the Month or something like that? And this was a guy who was hitting like sub 200. So I have really tried to look at the Blue Jays, whether in terms of team total overs or run lines, and I see plus 110 against Bayo. Yeah, a couple of spots I'm looking at. Oh, and how could I forget, Greg? We do have Justin Verlander returning to Detroit. That's one where Justin Verlander, one of my favorite pitchers to watch, and the one time I actually did see him in person, he was a minus 500 favorite with the Astros at Camden Yards, and the Orioles beat him. It was one of the biggest upsets ever. Anyway, he is the minus 190 favorite I see against the Tigers, and I'm looking forward to maybe watching that game and seeing how he pitches before I wager any money on him. Yeah, nice little Thursday afternoon baseball slate, no doubt.
It certainly is a nice slate, and I still remember that the Orioles, they got down like 3 runs in the 9th inning in that game against Justin Verlander when he was that Mondo favorite. And I think that it was Ruiz that hit that walk-off home run. Rio Ruiz, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember that game very well. I actually took the Orioles getting just a Mondo number, just figuring, no baseball team should be this big of an underdog, and that cash for me. Just like,
nice.
Chris, I know that you've been cashing a lot of tickets all year long in a wide variety of sports. You do a great job covering it all. I know that you guys over there at Monumental Sports Network and By the Book have been doing a great job taking a look at the NBA, taking a look at some golf, taking a look at some MLB. List goes on and on. You and Meg cover it. Also, all the good people at home know it's all on tap for you, and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg. At the Big Cheese Show, we're covering NHL hockey quite a bit. I'm hoping to make it down maybe to a Panthers game this weekend, as I will be in Miami for a bachelor party, the Miami Grand Prix going on down there. So if you follow me on Instagram, it could be some pool party picks more so than gambling picks this upcoming weekend. But other than that, always a pleasure joining you here, Greg, and talking baseball with you.
Oh, pool party picks are some of the best. I absolutely love it. So that is going to be a rager of a weekend, to say the least, for Chris. And he always does a great job of raging out with some great picks whenever he joins this show as well. Chris does an amazing job over there at the Monumental Sports Network, taking a look at a little bit of everything and lends great insights every single time he joins this podcast. So big thanks, Chris, for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Thursday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. always a pleasure to be joined by Chris Cichon. He does great work over there at the show By the Book. That's part of Monumental Sports Network. You're able to catch that on NBC Sports Washington. He does an amazing job taking a look at so many different things. I know that he was very dialed in when it came to the NFL draft this time of year. He does an amazing job with all things baseball as well, and every single time he joins this podcast, lends great insights, much like he did today. So, a big thanks to Chris for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time in the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Thursday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter feed at @unit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, and any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Now, we do have a few games that are off the board, so we shall see what gems lie ahead here as we start with this first game of 901-902 on the betting board. It is the Chicago Cubs. They hit the road. They're facing off against the Washington Nationals as one Patrick Corbin is going to be going for the Washington Nationals. Good old to be determined is on the bump for the Chicago Cubs. Now, it seems as though we are most likely going to be getting Nick Neidert, who is going to be getting the start. You may recall him from being with the Miami Marlins last season. And if we do get Mr. Neidert going up against the Washington Nationals, I have made the Cubs a -143 favorite and made the total a 9.7, which means at a 9.5 or less, I'm going to be taking a look at the over. A 10 or higher, I'm going to be taking a look at the under. Patrick Corbin actually has not been the worst pitcher in the big leagues, and he has not been the least profitable pitcher in the big leagues. For anyone that has faded Steven Matz, his team is 0-6 at his start, so you actually could do worse in betting on Patrick Corbin thus far this season, but I mean, he's still not good. 5.74 ERA. Fielding independent is a little bit better than this, but he's given up 6 home runs in 31 and a third innings. Strikeouts per 9 rate is sub-7. He has given up at least 3 runs in every one of his starts thus far this year. He's not good. Meanwhile, for Mr. Nick Neidert, I remember him being a second-round pick a few seasons ago. Just someone that has never really been able to put it together, and at the minor league level, it's not like he's been lighting the world on fire or anything like that. The Cubs acquired him during the offseason. He's made some starts at AAA, giving up 4 walks per 9 innings, 8.5 strikeouts per 9, posting up a 4 ERA. Now, while he was in the Miami Marlins minor league system last season, he was actually very good, but that was at a very small sample size, wasn't necessarily going deep in his starts or anything like that, so I don't think you're going to be getting a whole heck of a lot more than 4, maybe 5 innings out of him. I could see this being a spot where you use Abner Alzolay as a little bit of a long guy, a former starter, Jeremiah Estrada. Probably going to be coming out of the bullpen as well. And for the Chicago Cubs, bullpen has not been great, bullpen has not been terrible, and I think that you're really able to say that for both of these teams. They actually came into the day yesterday, both 18th and 19th in terms of bullpen ERA. For the Chicago Cubs, they're doing a much better job, though, of being able to put the ball in play. This is the Cubs bunch that led the National League at the beginning of the week in terms of batting average, and you take a look at the lineup that they were trotting out there yesterday, I believe that everyone except for Patrick Wisdom was hitting above a 250 going into the game. For Patrick Wisdom, he's been able to slug out 11 home runs, so and that forgives him and his 242 average, but everyone for the Cubs doing a solid job of moving the line. Power is lacking outside of really Wisdom and Bellinger, but by and large, these guys are able to do a solid job. And for the Washington Nationals, you really don't have anyone doing a great job of hitting home runs aside from Jeimer Candelario. His 4 home runs right now leading the team, but you've got a lot of guys that they just sort of get on base. Keibert Ruiz, Joey Meneses, Dominic Smith, Lane Thomas, lying between about a 255 to a 267. Alex Call has been able to find a way to get on base. Victor Robles as well. For the Washington Nationals, I like what we've seen out of Carl Lewis Jr., along with Mason Thompson in the bullpen, Erasmo Ramirez. So he's been a little bit of a hot mess, and got to think with Jake Irvin hitting the bump yesterday that this is going to be a little bit of a tanked bullpen. So 9.5 or less, looking at the over 10 or higher to the under. And with the Cubs, set the -143 on the money line. To lay a run and a half with them, I would need at least a +122. 903, 904 on the betting board. It is the Milwaukee Brewers on the road facing off against the Colorado Rockies as Connor Siebold goes for the Rockies, and Wade Miley looking to have a party out in Colorado for the Brewers, and the Brew Crew are anywhere between -138 to -150 favorites, between +125 and +132 your number on Colorado. 12 to 12.5 is the total on the 12.5. Under is -115, the over is -105 on the 12. Over and under both at -110. Did set my total at 12.6. Going to be taking a look at the over with Wade Miley .86 ERA this far this season in 5 starts, despite 19 strikeouts in 29 innings. The command has been good. 4 walks in 29 innings. He has given up just 2 home runs. He is due for some negative regression. 3 strikeouts or fewer in 4 out of his 5 starts. Very much a pitch-to-contact guy. Going up against someone in Connor Siebold, who we've seen him make some starts at the big league level before. Most of these came with the Boston Red Sox last season as a starter at an 11.29 ERA. He's been mostly utilized as more of a long guy out of the Colorado Rockies bullpen thus far this season. 13 2/3 innings across 7 total appearances. He's been getting rocked and rolled thus far, 5.27 ERA. Now he's been put into spots that are not very advantageous for having a lot of success, but for Connor Siebold, he's been able to get some swings and misses at the minor league level. He is someone that sometimes gets a little bit loose with regards to command and has never really been able to avoid contact. So it's not necessarily too terrific. Now, you take a look at this Milwaukee Brewers lineup, and you do have quite a few guys that are struggling to be able to move the line. As entering into yesterday, Willie Adames, Christian Yelich, Mike Brasso, throw in there Joey Wiemer, Bryce Terang, owing between about a 218 to a 231. It's been really the catcher spot that has been good for the team. Victor Caratini along with William Contreras, both of these guys have been rock solid. Rowdy Tellez, 8 bombs, 340 on base. So these guys have been able to do their part, and I do think that going to Coors Field is going to be able to help them out. And I will say, for the Colorado Rockies, bullpen has been a little bit improved this season. They add on the former Milwaukee Brewer Brent Suter, who he's been utilized as a long guy. He's got a .04 ERA as far as this season. Daniel Bard, along with Brad Hand, these guys have been solid as well. But when you do get into something like Donaldson Lamet, it's not necessarily been so terrific. Meanwhile, for the Milwaukee Brewers, top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA, it's been about Joel Payamps, Hobie Milner, guys like this, providing a sub-3.2 ERA, getting the ball to Devin Williams very cleanly. That has been so impactful for the team. And they go up against the Colorado Rockies team that they've always got their demonstrative home and road splits. On the road thus far this season, the Rockies are hitting at 220, and you got 11 home runs in 16 games. When they've been at home, they haven't necessarily been able to supply a lot of wallop, just 13 home runs in their first 14 games, but hitting at 287. They do just such a better job of being able to move the line. Some of these guys see a bump of like 45 plus points with regards to their batting average. They now have Randall Grichuk back in the fold as well. That's big. Chris Bryant, unlike last season, he's actually healthy. CJ Cron, 6 home runs thus far this season, but if you take a look recently, he hasn't been able to give you as much power. Just 3 of these home runs have come in the last 3 days. He had a big first series or 2 of the season, and ever since then has fallen off a little bit, but Elias Diaz is sitting right around 385 at home. I do think that both of these teams going to be able to do a solid job of being able to put bat to ball, and this time of year, day games in Coors Field, they're going to produce a lot more scoring than some of these night games as well, because it does get a little bit cooler during the nighttime out there in that Colorado air. So I did set the Brewers as a minus 156 favorite on the money line. I do think that they've got domination when it comes to this pitching matchup. If you're looking at the run line, finding that at even money. Personally, I would rather just lay like a minus 138 rather than take an even money run line, just because I do think regression is coming here for Wade Miley. You could very easily see a case where the Colorado Rockies in their last ups, they go from down 2 to down 1, be able to get that one just sort of garbage run. So it's a spot where I would rather lay a little bit of a bigger money line with the Brewers rather than take a look at the run line. And with my total set at 12.6, also looking at the over 905, 906 on the betting board. It is the Atlanta Braves. They hit the road to face off against the Miami Marlins. Ace Luis Luzardo is going to be going for Miami. For the Atlanta Braves, it was supposed to be Max Fried. He has been scratched, and he is going to be starting on Friday. So it is expected to be a bullpen game for the Atlanta Braves. We do not know a set starter as of right now, but projecting as if it's going to be some sort of a poo-poo platter bullpen game against the Miami Marlins. I did set the Braves at a minus 107 with a total of a 7.3. So 7 or less, looking over 7.5 higher to the under. When Max Fried was listed as a starter, we were seeing a total of 7.5. So I'll be very, very stunned if I don't end up on an under in this spot. But for the Atlanta Braves, bullpen has been okay. It's not been great. It's not been terrible. They entered into the day on Wednesday hovering right around about 17th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. For the Miami Marlins, they have been 25th with this regard, and they play in a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. So That's a little bit concerning. JP Chargois being on the fold, I do think it has taken a little bit of fold there. AJ Puck has been very solid, but guys like Huascar Brazoba and Matt Barnes, you expect a little bit more out of them, but I do think that Aceless Luzardo is going to be able to go out and have a very nice start in this one. He's been able to register about 10 punch-outs per 9 innings. His walks per 9 rate is a little bit more under control this year. Just barely under 3 walks per 9 innings. He has allowed 3 runs or fewer in all but one of his starts thus far this season. And for the Atlanta Braves, got to figure that you're going to be getting a little bit of length out of Jesse Chavez, who had a rough series against the Houston Astros a few weeks ago, but other than that, he's been relatively reliable and does have some experience as a starter. Someone like Colin McHugh was able to give you multiple innings. I remember he was a starter way back in the day, and I'm talking about many years ago, but I think that he's going to be able to provide a little bit for this Braves team as well. And with the Atlanta Braves, they certainly are able to put some walloping on the ball, as we saw that very early on in the second inning yesterday where they got 6+ runs in that one. And you do have a lot of guys that they do an incredible job of being able to get on base. Austin Riley hitting just at .240 thus far this season with right around 4 to 5 home runs. You got to expect that to go northward, but Sean Murphy has been a really nice find at the catcher spot, filling in for Travis d'Arnaud. He has done a great job there. 8 home runs in his first 87 at-bats. Doing a good job finding a way to move the line with north of a 420 on base. Ronald Acuna Jr., 450 on base. Matt Olson, he hasn't necessarily hit for the world's greatest average, but 8 home runs thus far this season. You got Michael Harris back at the fold. Vaughn Grisham has been solid. So, this is a locked and loaded Atlanta Braves team. Meanwhile, you've got a Miami Marlins bunch that they got guys that are able to get on base. Yuli Gurriel sitting above a 300. You've been able to have quite a bit of production out of Garrett Hampson, coupled with Garrett Cooper. The two Garretts hitting between about 265 to 275. Jorge Soler, he's only providing about a 295 on base, but he's been able to hit the ball very hard if you take a look at barrel rate. But they are the lowest scoring team in the National League right now, and I do think that with this being such a pitcher-friendly ballpark, it is going to lead to some success for the Atlanta Braves. I do think that Aceless Luzardo going to be able to go out and have a nice start for the Miami Marlins, but I just fear that Aceless Luzardo might be on the wrong end of another 3-2 style game. So 7 or less, looking over 7.5 prior to the under, and set the Braves at a -107 on the money line, so we'll lay up to a -106 with them. We need a +108 or greater to take a look at Miami. 907, 908 on the betting board. The Minnesota Twins are on the road facing off against the Chicago White Sox as Lucas Giolito goes for the Southsiders, and Pablo Lopez goes for the Minnesota Twins, and the Twins between -130 to -140 favorites, any between +115 and +125 is your number on Chicago. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8.5. Under is -120. The over is even on the 8. Over is -120, and the under is even. And with the White Sox, I set them at a +148. And if you're taking a look at that Minnesota run line, by the way, find that only between about a +118 to a +120. I would rather just lay a -130 on the money line, because this is a Minnesota Twins bunch that they do rank in the bottom 10 in the league in terms of batting average. They've had a tough time being able to move the line in general. You're starting to see some of these struggling bats start to emerge. Now, Carlos Correa has not come out of his funk whatsoever. I do think that there might have been a little bit more of something to those bad x-rays that we saw in the offseason, but now you've got the likes of Jose Miranda, Trevor Larnach, Max Kepler, along with Michael A. Taylor, and in between about 232, 240, starting to pick it up. Byron Buxton, he's now up to 7 home runs, 330 on base. He's looking much more like himself, and I do think that getting back Orde Polanco was big. In 10 games back, pair of home runs, sitting above a 300, that has been massive. And for the Minnesota Twins, it's a average bullpen. Not great, not terrible. Giovanni Morin has been a little bit up and down this season after he was terrific last season, but Jorge Lopez, Yohan Duran, these guys are relatively reliable. Don't want any part of Emilio Pagan, but for the Chicago White Sox, there's really not a single guy that is trustworthy. Gregory Santos might be the only guy in this entire stable right now that has a sub-3 ERA. I mean, it has been terrible. What we've seen out of this bullpen has Kendall Graveman, Jimmy Lambert, Jake Diekman, Reynaldo Lopez, Alex Colomé. All these guys have north of a 5.5 ERA. It's been deplorable for the White Sox. They're in the bottom 3 in terms of bullpen ERA. You've got Joe Kelly on the paternity, which honestly is an upgrade for the Chicago White Sox, because he's just flat out awful. And then you take a look at the Chicago White Sox, a team that just throughout the dawn of time has been able to hit lefties. They're hitting below 200 against lefties right now. I mean, this team can't do anything right. They're hitting a 233 as a collective. They are averaging less than a home run per game. You've had Jake Berger actually do a solid job for the team. 320 on base, 7 home runs, had Trey Giddy yesterday. Luis Robert, he seems to have been on 5 home runs for forever. He's got 5 walks and 5 home runs thus far this season, as nobody on this team is willing to take their base, as Romero, I just mentioned, along with Elvis Andrus, Oscar Colas, along with Luis Sosa. All these guys running at 220 or lower. You've been able to have Yasmani Grandal be able to move the line along to Andrew Vaughn a little bit, but man, it's relatively rough for this team, and Pablo Lopez has been pretty stinking good. You can tell that he was probably going to have a lot of success with Minnesota, because if you notice him last season with the Miami Marlins, he actually had a road ERA of a 3. Thus far this season, in 3 road starts, he has given up 3 earned runs. He's actually been getting robbed a little bit more at home rather than on the road, so I found that to be very intriguing. First start against the Chicago White Sox, gave up 2 runs in 7 2/3 innings. I think that he's going to be able to duplicate that. And for Lucas Giolito, he's actually coming off of a good recent run, giving up a combined 7 runs over the course of his last 4 starts, going 6+ innings in every one of them, and more importantly, was able to cut down on the walks, a combined 5 walks in those last 4 starts, being able to register about 6 punch-outs per start. He's actually looked not too bad, but it's also backed up by a bullpen that just absolutely stinks, in an offense that isn't necessarily doing a whole lot. I did set my total at 7.8. I do think that Lucas Giolito is actually going to be able to sling a relatively good start, and the Minnesota Twins have been a little bit rough with regards to their lineup, so I'm going to be taking a look at the under, but with the Twins, set them at a -148, willing to ride with them on the money line. 909, 910 on the betting board. It is the Kansas City Royals playing against the Baltimore Orioles. Grayson Rodriguez is going to be going for the Orioles, and Jordan Lyles is going to be on the bump for the Royals. 9.5 is the total. Unders between -115 and -120. -155 is your number on Baltimore, between +130 and +140. Your price on the Royals. I set the Orioles at a -162 on the money line. If you're looking at that run line, you're going to be getting it in between about a +105 to a +110. I was willing to take pretty much anything of even money or better, so going to be taking a look at that Orioles run line. I did, though, set my total at an 8.3. I'm going to be taking a look at the under. It took bookmakers a little bit of time to be able to put up a play on this one, or else I might have actually written it up, because I just take a look at this Kansas City Royals offense, and it is about as fadeable as it gets in the big leagues right now, as they entered into the day on Wednesday averaging fewer than 3.6 runs per contest. As a collective, this team is hitting a very sad and paltry 220. You just take a look up and down the boulevard at this team. You don't have a lot of guys that are able to move the line. You've been able to get some good production out of Ed Olivares, Vinny Pasquantino, both hitting at 275, and for Pasquantino, he's Salvador Perez, Bobby Witt Jr. If I'll be able to supply 5 home runs to Salvador Perez, he's hitting at 279, but outside of these guys, you've got nobody that's able to get on base. Nicky Lopez, MJ Melendez, Kyle Isbell, Franmil Reyes, Jackie Bradley Jr., Michael Massey, Hunter Dozier, Nate Eaton, all hitting at 200 or worse. It's horrible. But then you get into the Royals bullpen, and the Royals bullpen has been a mess as well. Aroldis Chapman has actually been okay for this team, but Scott Barlow, who's typically reliable, he's got north of a 5 ERA. As a whole, the Royals bullpen, 5.50 ERA. That is 27th in the league. Meanwhile, the Orioles, entering into the day on Wednesday, they were a team that ranked right around 8th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. They had a 3.03 bullpen ERA. So these guys have been solid. Meanwhile, the likes of Austin Cox, Taylor Clark not cutting it for the Royals. Meanwhile, for Baltimore, you do have a guy in Grayson Rodriguez that has sort of the Rick the Wild Thing Vaughn syndrome, in that he does give out quite a few walks, 11 walks in 24 1/3 innings. Really good stuff. He's able to give you north of 11 punch-outs per 9 innings. Just all about being able to find a little bit more command. He's given up just 2 home runs in 24 1/3 innings, so he's starting to put it together. But as I mentioned, backed up by a relatively solid bullpen. Felix Bautista is one of the better closers that you're going to find in the big leagues. When you do get into some of these longer guys, they're not so great. But Danny Columbia, along with Yunier Cano, have been very good in this bullpen. Keegan Aiken, Brian Baker, these guys have been okay. Mike Bauman's been terrific. It's been really guys like Asenio Perez have been a little bit rough, but by and large, I do like what I'm seeing out of this Orioles bullpen. And then for the lineup, you've got the best base stealing duo in all of baseball, Sergio Mullins, along with Jorge Mateo, combined 21 stolen bases entering into yesterday. And as a collective, team that's sitting at 261, top 8 in the big leagues in terms of overall runs per game. They haven't necessarily put a walloping on the ball. Ryan Mountcastle has been able to give you 8 home runs, and Jorge Mateo, 6 bombs, hitting a 338. He's been impressive. Adley Rutschman has been able to give you a 430 on base, but haven't gotten a lot out of guys like Adam Frazier, Anthony Santander. When these guys turn around, I think that this team is going to be even more fearsome. But I do think that Jordan Lyles going to be able to do an okay job of being able to keep the ball in the yard. Has always had his issues with the deep ball. This is a neither really pitcher nor hitter friendly ballpark. 9 home runs given up in 35 and a third innings. It's been okay with command, about 3 walks per 9 innings. He gets about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but you also have an Orioles team that has good familiarity with him because, well, he pitched for the Orioles last season. So I do think that the Orioles get to him, but I do think that the Orioles also hold down the Royals in this spot as well, which is why I am willing to take that plus price on the run line, lay a run and a half with the Orioles, and I also think the Royals are going to be able to do their part when it comes to this total. So, going to be taking a look at the under semi-total at 8.3 and the Orioles run line 9-11, 9-12 on the betting board. It is the Seattle Mariners on the road facing off against the Oakland A's. Says Drew Rucinski is going to be going for the A's, and George Kirby is on the bump for Seattle. And Seattle is a very sizable favorite. You're getting them anywhere between minus 205 and minus 225. Meanwhile, between plus 170 and plus 190, your number on Oakland. 8 to 8.5 is your total on the 8. Over is minus 120 to minus 125. The under is there between even on plus 105 on the 8.5. Under is minus 115 and the over is minus 105. I could only make the Mariners more on a minus 168 on the money line. On the run line, I set them at a minus 107. Right now, you'd have to lay a minus 125. So I'm seeing some value here on the Oakland A's. Drew Rucinski comes over from the KBO, and if you remember the good old NC Dinos from a few seasons ago, for those of you guys during COVID that was taking a look at the KBO, Drew Rucinski was a part of that team. For Rucinski, not necessarily the world's greatest start for the Oakland A's the first time around. He went 5 2/3 innings, but he got no help whatsoever from his defense. He also did allow 11 hits to the Cincinnati Reds, but I think that was the case where he might have been a little bit too amped up for his first MLB start, since really dinosaurs were literally roaming the earth, not just the NC Dinos. But I do think that we're going to see a little bit better out of him. Now, I don't expect to see Drew Rucinski to be giving you a whole lot of swing and miss stuff or anything like that, but I do think that he's going to be able to do a formidable job, and among these guys in this Oakland A's rotation, he's probably the second best of them. I do think that Mason Miller probably your number one guy, but taking a look at what he was able to do at the KBO level last few seasons, this guy's been rock solid, doesn't necessarily give up a lot of walks, does a good job of really bending but not breaking. As you take a look at what he did last season with NC at a sub-3 ERA in the KBO, very much a pitch-to-contact league, giving up 1.6 walks per 9 innings while being able to get 9 punch-outs per 9 innings. Meanwhile, for Seattle, George Kirby has done a good job of not giving out a lot of walks himself. 2 walks in 30 2/3 innings thus far this season, giving up only 1 home run. This is despite the fact that his swing and miss stuff hasn't really been there thus far this season. About 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. I do think that there's going to be a little bit of negative regression because with Oakland as well, what you're going to notice with this ballpark is that it is very hitter-friendly during the daytime. During the nighttime, it's very pitcher-friendly, and this is going to be a daytime game, so that is going to yield itself to a few more runs, and this is an Oakland A's bunch that they've actually been able to put bat to ball. Their league average in terms of home runs on a per-at-bat basis, Brett Rooker, Shea Langolaris, they had a combined 15 home runs going into yesterday, with Rooker giving you 22 RBI. That's one of the top marks in all the big leagues, hitting at 333. Jesus Aguilar is hitting at 270, 5 home runs as far this season. Estrelio Ruiz, 333 on base. You actually have a Oakland A's team that does a better job of moving the line than the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners entered into yesterday hitting just at 215 as a collective. That is not too terrific to say the least. They've been dealing with a little bit of an injury to Julio Rodriguez. Teoscar Hernandez is sitting right around the middle of the line of a 200. You do have quite a few guys sitting between, I would say, about a 225 to a 240. Ty France and Eugenio Suarez, Cal Raleigh, J.P. Crawford on that fold. They do a solid job of being able to draw some walks. So Jarred Kelenic has been amazing, hitting for 7 home runs and a 309. He is the only guy on the roster, though, Kelenic is, that entered into yesterday hitting above a 239. That is concerning. And the Mariners, they have the big edge when it comes to the bullpen. But I do have to say, guys like Trevor Gott, Justin Topa, Gabe Spear that have supplied a sub-3 ERA, I do think that there might be a little bit of negative regression there. Meanwhile, flip side for the Oakland A's, dead last going into yesterday in terms of bullpen ERA. These guys stink. Domingo Azevedo has been terrible this year, though he was okay last season. Jurcic Familia, he's managed for a blown save. Adam Oller is not good. Sammy Long, I think that there might be a little bit of potential there. And Richard Lovelady has actually been okay for this team, but I do think that getting this good of a price on Drew Rucinski, I think, is a really nice spot. I think that a lot of people discredit the KBO a little bit. I think that just the element of surprise with Rucinski provides a little bit of value as well, and a little bit more of a pitch to contact game. Did set my total at an 8.4. Mostly have access to an 8, so at an 8 I'd be looking at an over. If this turns to mostly 8.5, that'll be my buy point on the under. So wait and see mode. I would rather have an 8 over personally though. And with the Oakland A's, we'll take plus 170 or greater. With them, 913, 914 on the betting board. It is the Toronto Blue Jays. They hit the road. They're facing off against the Boston Red Sox as Brian Bayo is going to be going for the Sox, and Kevin Gausman is on the bump for the Toronto Blue Jays. And the Jays are between minus 150 to minus 160 favorites, heading between plus 135 and plus 142, your number on Boston. 9 to 9.5 is the total. On the 9, over is minus 115, the under is minus 105. On the 9.5, the under is minus 120, and the over is even. Did set my total at a 9.3. I've mostly got 9.5s out there, and at a 9.5, I am going to be willing to take a look at the under. Kevin Gausman can sometimes give up a little bit more hard contact than what you'd like, but by and large, he's been able to do an amazing job this year of getting swings and misses. About 54 punch-outs in about 39 innings. His strikeouts per 9 rate is above 11.5. He has been pretty solid on the road as well. You take a look at what he did during the 2022 season. He had a 4.57 home ERA compared to a 2.30 road ERA, giving up less than a half a home run per 9 innings. Goes up against someone in Brian Bayo who's always been able to do a solid job of keeping the ball in the yard. He has allowed 4 home runs over the course of about 60 innings between his 2 seasons at the big league level, and he's coming off of really his best start perhaps of his career, giving up 1 run over the course of 5 innings against the Cleveland Guardians. His bullpen nearly yacked that one away, and I will say with this Boston Red Sox bullpen, they entered into yesterday number 11 in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. That is not going to be the case at the end of the year. You take a look at these schlubs, and I have no idea how they're doing it at this point, as they've got Ryan Brazier, Brendan Bernardino, Richard Blyer, guys like this giving you innings. Chris Martin is not too bad along John Schreiber, but I mean the untrustworthy Kenley Jansen, who's your closer for the team right now. And for the Toronto Blue Jays, they've been having a little bit of a rough time with their bullpen as well. They entered into yesterday 14th of the league in terms of bullpen ERA. Guys like Zach Pop have not necessarily been able to do their job. Eric Swanson has been very good in this bullpen, but Yimi Garcia is north of a 5 ERA. Anthony Bass is apparently spending too much time complaining about popcorn on airplanes rather than actually pitching. He's got a 7 ERA thus far this season. That is about the amount of kernels that his kids threw on the airplane a few weeks ago, but I do think that for the Toronto Blue Jays, they are also going to be able to put a little bit of a walloping on the ball as well, as this team entered into the series tied for 18th in the league in terms of home runs. That is not going to be the case at the end of the year, as you've got Matt Chapman along Vlad Guerrero Jr., both entering into yesterday, supplying 5 home runs apiece, and Bo Bichette 7, but all 3 of these guys have been able to do an amazing job hitting above a 310, and Whit Merrifield back to hitting about a 300 in the series, showing that form they had with the Kansas City Royals a few seasons ago. They've had some struggling bats, though, as George Springer entered into yesterday hitting a 216. When you've had him out there on the field, Brandon Belt, Dalton Varsho, these guys have been relatively rough. Santiago Espinal has dealt with some injuries and just poor play in general. All these guys hitting 215 or lower. That should be going northward. Meanwhile, for the Boston Red Sox, entered into yesterday number 3 in the league in terms of runs per game. I do think that there's going to be a little bit of regression. Masataka Yoshida all of a sudden is putting it together as he and Alex Verdugo both entered into yesterday, hitting above a 370 in terms of their on-base, along with Jarren Duran. Duran, since he has resurfaced at the big league level, has been really good. Now, Tristan Casas has been a hot mess, but all of a sudden, Connor Wong is hitting above a 275, so that's great. Justin Turner is able to move the line as well, and then Rafael Devers weighing about a 225, but a double-digit amount of homers, so I do think that there's going to be runs in this game, but I do think that a 9.5 is a little bit too high, so my total at 9.3, looking at the under, but with the Blue Jays, did set them on the money line at a minus 156. I think that Gausman is by far the better starter if you're looking at the run line. Playing that at a plus 110. Need at least a plus 107 to be able to get there. I would be willing to take that plus 110 run line, though, to go along with the total under. Now let's set my DKNH right up pick, 915, 916 on the betting board. The Detroit Tigers playoffs to the New York Mets. Justin Verlander is going to be going for the Mets in his season debut, and Eduardo Rodriguez is on the bump for Detroit, seeing a mix of between 7.5 and 8. On the 8, the under is anywhere between minus 115 and minus 120. The over is anywhere between even a minus 105 on the 7.5. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. Whether or not I have a 7.5 or an 8 is going to be dependent upon late night line movement, but whether you have a 7.5 or an 8, my write-up is going to remain the same. I am looking at the under. Set my total at 7.3. Justin Verlander, absolutely magnificent last season with the Houston Astros. He had a 1.75 ERA with 18 wins, led American League starters in both of those categories. In his one minor league appearance prior to getting called back up to the big leagues, he had 6 strikeouts to 1 walk in 4 2/3 innings. Just in watching that, he looked very much like his old self. I think that he's going to be just fine in this circumstance. Meanwhile, Eduardo Rodriguez, he has been rocking and rolling. How about 2 earned runs surrendered in north of 27 innings in his last 4 starts, giving up just 3 walks along the way, punching out 24. He is looking like the guy that we were all hoping that he would be prior to him signing with the Detroit Tigers. And for Rodriguez, I just still go back to the 2021 season. His fielding independent was more than a full point lower than his ERA. He's been the victim of a little bit of bad luck in recent years, which is why his numbers aren't as impressive as you might expect. And with the Detroit Tigers, they back him up with a lineup that entered into their double dip yesterday. Dead last in the league in terms of runs per game and 28th in terms of batting average, with the team hitting at 222. As Javi Baez, congratulations, he's now hitting above at 240. That's relatively soft for the team, but Akil Padu, Spencer Torkelson, Jason Rogers, Kerry Carpenter, Nick Maton, Miguel Cabrera, and Tyler Nevin, all hitting below a 220, is completely killing this team. They don't have a lot of wall up in their bat, as you've got Kerry Carpenter along with Maton, a pair of guys that have been able to give you 4 home runs this season, but first 28 games of the year, 20 home runs for this team. Not great. And for the New York Mets, they're a team that has been relatively average in terms of their lineup as well. Now, Pete Alonso has been incredible. 11 home runs going into the double dip yesterday, but as a collective, the Mets entered in that doubleheader right around 18th in the league in terms of batting average, 20th in the league in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Now, what I will say is that this guy's a baddie, as Brett Baty has been really doing a nice job of moving the line, hitting above a 300. Then you've got Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo, both also hitting right around at 300, but have a lot of struggling bats with this team. Eduardo Escobar, still hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. Starling Marte, Mark Canha, Francisco Alvarez, Francisco Lindor, only between about a 215 to a 230. That's been a little bit unsightly for this bunch as well, but for the New York Mets, they ranked going into their doubleheader right around 11th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. Would not be surprised if Justin Verlander's on a little bit of a pitch count, and these guys should be able to do a solid job of being able to hold down the fort. Steven Nikosic has been a very good long guy for the team. David Robertson has been doing a very solid job as a closer as well. Drew Smith is always someone I've liked. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. And for the Detroit Tigers, this is not the same bullpen as last year, where you had Gregory Soto, Michael Fulmer, Andrew Chafin, Joey Menes, guys like this. But Jose Cicerno has been solid the last 2 seasons. Jason Foley entered into yesterday with a .142 ERA. Don't necessarily have the world's greatest amount of confidence in Jason Shreve, to say the least, but even Alex Lang has been able to do an okay job for this bunch. I do think that both of these starters go out there, sling good starts. The Detroit Tigers have been as offensive as Ned Flanders all season long, so I did set the Mets at a -192 on the money line. If you're looking at the run line, finding that anywhere between -115 to a -120, I was willing to lay up to a -128, so I'm going to ride with the Mets run line, figuring that the Mets are going to hold down this Detroit Tigers offense, and DK Nation right up pick, that is going to be on the under. 917, 918 on the betting board. The Pittsburgh Pirates set the road face-off against the Tampa Bay Rays. Zach Eflin looks to not be Eflin awful for the Rays, and Vince Velasquez is on the bump for Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is an underdog between +160 and +170, anywhere between -190 to -195, seeing a straight -182 out there on the Tampa Bay Rays is your price there. 8 to 8.5 is the total. On the 8, over is -115, the under is -105. On the 8.5, under is -115, the over is -105. I did set my total at an 8.4. I personally would much rather have an 8 over rather than an 8.5 under. Vince Velasquez has actually been really good in his last few starts. He's allowed a combined 3 earned runs in his last 4 starts. I have no idea what sort of sorcery has taken hold of him, but somehow, some way, he has looked really good recently. I don't think this is going to last, as those 4 starts came against the Colorado Rockies, granted on the road against the Colorado Rockies, the Cincinnati Reds, Washington Nationals, and the St. Louis Cardinals. Some teams that have really been struggling this season. Meanwhile, for Zach Eflin, he's looked pretty Eflin good thus far this season, giving up 3 runs or fewer in every one of his starts, granted against the White Sox twice, the Oakland A's, and the Detroit Tigers. Once again, not stiff competition, but I do think that he should be able to come out there and hold down the fort for Velasquez. even though he's experienced a little bit of a career renaissance, being able to get a strikeouts per 9 rate right around 9. And really, both of these guys have the walks per 9 rate for Velasquez. That's still north of 3. Meanwhile, for Eflin, just 3 walks in 21 innings. And the Tampa Bay Rays are able to back up Zach Eflin with a much better bullpen as well. Pete Fairbanks has not given up a run out of the bullpen all season long. Got so many guys who are able to offer multiple innings of length. The Rays have a 2.85 bullpen ERA. That is second in the league. And I will say the Pirates are number 7 with that regard, but they just don't have the depth of arms like you do with the Tampa Bay Rays, because even someone like a Garrett Clevenger has been solid in this bullpen. Jason Adam, all these guys, they've been rock solid. Meanwhile, for the Pirates, David Bednar has been very good for this team, along with Robert Stevenson. Colin Holderman, he's been able to hold it down along with Dwayne Underwood Jr., but I do think that for the Pittsburgh Pirates, we're going to see some regression with this lineup. I do think that the Oniel Cruz injury, sooner rather than later, is going to be catching up with them, as you've had Connor Joe make things a go. He's been hitting well above a 275, and Carlos Santana sitting at 275. I just can't see that being the case for the entirety of the season. Miguel Andujar has been able to give you some good at-bats, and Andrew McCutcheon is up to 6 home runs. Brian Reynolds has 5, but Brian Reynolds has seen a dip in regards to his power numbers. Still moving the line, hitting about a 375 in terms of his on base. Andrew McCutcheon more around a 355 on base, but for the Tampa Bay Rays, they lead MLB in darn near every offensive category. It's just absolutely incredible. You've got Wander Franco, Harold Ramirez, Yandy Diaz, along with Josh Lowe, all hitting at least a 300 for this team. You're very hard pressed to find someone without 4 home runs or more in the starting lineup. It has been incredible, as Yandy Diaz, Brandon Lau, Randy Arozarena, Harold Ramirez are all guys that are giving you at least 5 home runs thus far this season. Obviously, I'm leaving off quite a few guys, but I mean, they're hitting as a collective at 280. Really, other than Manuel Margot, everyone's been really hitting for this team. Even Isaac Paredes has seen a big boost with regards to his batting average as well. I do think that the Rays are going to be able to get to Vince Velasquez. I do think that this is where his fairy tale sort of comes to an end. So, did set my total at an 8.4. I'm going to be taking a look at the 8 over with the Tampa Bay Rays. I was willing to lay up to a minus 112 with their run line. They've been the best run line team in all of baseball this year. You're able to get it at a plus 120. So, taking that plus price on the run line with the Rays and the 8 over, and we wrap things up with 919, 920 on the betting board. The LA Angels hit the road face off against the St. Louis Cardinals as Captain Jack Flaherty goes for the Cards. Griffin Canning is on the bump for the Angels, and your total on this game is 8.5 over and under, anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. The Cardinals are between minus 133 to minus 145 favorites, anywhere between plus 120 and plus 127 is your number on the LA Angels. I did set the Cardinals minus 144 on the money line. If you're looking at their run line, you're going to be able to get that anywhere between plus 140 to a plus 145. Would rather just stick with the money line here, though, because with the St. Louis Cardinals and Captain Jack Flaherty, the walks are just absolutely extreme. Flaherty has given up 21 walks in 33 innings thus far this season. That's nearly 6 walks per 9 innings. Now, with Jack Flaherty, the stuff seems to be coming back. His strikeouts per 9 rate is back above 9. Done a good job of limiting the hard contact, giving up 4 home runs in 6 starts across 32 innings. So I do like to see that. And for Griffin Canning, he missed all of last season himself as he was dealing with some back issues. He's been able to resurface with some good swing and miss stuff, 15 punch-outs in 15 and a third innings across his 3 starts. Thus far this season, walks are still a little bit of an issue with him, about 3 walks per 9 innings. And for the Angels, as hard as it is to believe, going into Wednesday, this team in terms of bullpen ERA was 6th. I'm here to tell you that the LA Angels do not have a top 6 bullpen in the big leagues. So I do like Matt Moore. Matt Moore since the beginning part of last season, a sub-2 ERA, but guys like Chase Silseth, Ryan Tepera, Jaime Barria, Aaron Loop, these are not true trustworthy of guys. Carlos Estevez at this point has been their best reliever, and he had like a 4.5 ERA in his career with the Colorado Rockies. Meanwhile, for the St. Louis Cardinals, they've been a little bit testy out there in the bullpen as well. They're a bullpen that, in terms of ERA, they're right around 16th, as Ryan Elsley just has not been himself since the back half of last season, though. Jojo Romero is a sub-2 ERA. I really like Giovanni Gallegos along Genesis Cabrera, but I do think that sooner rather than later, this is a St. Louis Cardinals team that is going to be able to hit. Now, they do a little bit of a better job against lefties and righties, but Paul Goldschmidt did enter into yesterday, hitting above 300, and for the Cardinals, it just feels like darn near everyone on the roster is hitting between about a 265 to a 280. Brendan Donovan, Tommy Edman, Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker, along with Wilson Contreras. they're all sort of in that fold. And for Gorman, he's been your main power hitter. He's been able to supply the team with 6 home runs, so he's been able to do a solid job on that front. It's been Nolan Arenado who's been really letting the team down. Hitting at .235 with 2 home runs entering into yesterday. Just expect so much more out of him. Lars Nootbaar, Alec Burleson, the young guys in the outfield, they do need to pick it up a little bit. And then for the LA Angels, we all know what to expect out of Mike Trout along Shohei Ohtani. These guys have been absolutely terrific, but you've also been able to get some good production out of Hunter Renfroe, hitting about a .260. He had 25-plus home runs with the Brewers last year. He's been able to give you 7 thus far this season. Gio Urshela is able to move the line, but Taylor Ward has been a big albatross, hitting about a .210. Not giving you a lot of power ever since Logan O'Hoppe has went down with an injury. The catcher spot has been a little bit testy as well. I do think that both of these pitchers are going to allow some walks, but both of these pitchers also do have some good swing and miss stuff, so I did set my total at 8.3. Very pitcher-friendly ballpark out there in St. Louis, so I'm going to be taking a look at the under. And when it comes to the St. Louis Cardinals, want to lay up to a -144 with them, so rocking with their money line, and that will wrap things up for the Thursday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. A big thanks to Chris Cichon. Does amazing work over at the Monumental Sports Network. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like what you're hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways to be able to this in. First one is my Twitter timeline at @unit_D1. Keep in mind, letters CM. I mean, it does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season, and that means I'm coming at you once again about. Thank you so much for tuning in.